believe... I can't believe we actually summoned somebody. Well, everything's worth trying at least once. Hello fellow anime geeks and welcome to another series review on my quest to try all the anime. I'm ready with my usual 4 questions and today I have Genjitsu Shugi Yuusha no Oukoku Saikenki, or on Funi, how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. This is yet another isekai based on a light novel, but as the title implies, it has a more strategic building and political aspect to it, kind of like the 2nd season of Tensura. So I'm actually gonna disagree with the mal tags on this one. Yes, it is set in a fantasy world, but there's not a lot of action. Genjitsu Yuusha is to isekai as Log Horizon is to VR MMORPG game anime. The romantic relationship is a fun addition to the story, but it's not really central to the plot like in something like Seijo, which is a full-on romance. So I think the themes are also slightly off, since at least in the first part of this anime, the romance isn't really a main factor, neither is the harem. Also, while there is a standing army in this kingdom that factors into all of the large-scale strategies, I wouldn't say that this is a military anime like Full Metal Panic or 86. The plot kicks off with your typical isekai catalyst where a fantasy world summons a single guy with no connections to his life here on Earth to battle against a demon army. Why does it always have to happen in a library? But it's immediately clear that this is not going to be that kind of show, because unlike in most isekai, our protagonist's expertise and profession actually is important to his new life, and it's the main gimmick of the show, kind of like Honzuki. There's a very slice of life quality aspect to it as well, in that our protagonist has to face more realistic problems and more life, long-term plans, kind of like Hachi-nan. Oh, the treasury? That's what has problems right now? But unlike any of these light novel adaptations, Genjitsu Yuusha feels more like a thought experiment. Now, I know that the in-show comparison is to Machiavelli's The Prince, but I actually immediately thought of Plato's treatises on politics. I haven't really read Machiavelli. My university classics profs always favored Plato for obvious moral reasons. But if I remember correctly, Plato valued aristocracy as the best form of government if and only if the leader was chosen by others as being the most capable and trustworthy person among them. Said leader did not campaign for or even want the position in the first place, but took it up nonetheless out of just moral obligation. Every one of the leader's actions is for the good of the people, and when the community eventually becomes stable, said leader would then voluntarily step down. Otherwise, according to Plato, things would inevitably turn into tyranny, and since he didn't really see that scenario as being very realistic, he sort of settled on a republic as being the best means to protect its populace. But what if we actually played out that unlikely aristocratic scenario? I think this whole setup is very unique and interesting, and there's a lot of other ideas that this anime explores, like separation of powers, meritocracy as a means to combat class-based societies, using media for political propaganda, and freedom of expression. But is it worthwhile? Well, this anime isn't without its quirks. For example, I thought that it was a brilliant idea to bring up media as a means of food education for people that are currently going through a food scarcity issue, but I certainly was not expecting a slice of lifestyle kind of like food segment in the middle of this anime, or for it to last as long as it did. It was a bit jarring. Same for the idea of swaying public opinion with the media. It is definitely relevant and important for the political sort of thought exercise, but it was a little bit weird seeing our protagonist wear so many hats. We were spared the gruesome imagery and scenes in the couple of battles in this show, which is sort of smart because we want to like what our protagonist does, but as a consequence things felt a bit disjointed at the end there, and we didn't really get to feel the gravity of our protagonist's decisions. Then throw in some random harem interactions here and there, and congratulations, your political treatise is now an anime. Regardless, I personally had a lot of fun watching this show. Since I try everything, I tend to watch a lot of things that I personally wouldn't have really gravitated towards on my own, but I can honestly say that Genjitsu Yuusha is the sort of anime that I actually liked, as me. I do have to say though, again, that this is not a fantasy action anime, so if you didn't really like the political strategies and the endless meetings of Tensura, this is pretty much just that portion. So, I mean, in fact, I'm actually really excited for the upcoming season 2022 winter, because this left off much like Tensura Part 1 of Season 2, right before a big conference. And on that note, I'll catch you in the next video. This is great. I haven't liked something like this in this way since like Cautious Hero. Or maybe Hachi-nan